Drive podcast.
All right. Welcome back to the Outdoor Drive podcast. We are excited to have episode 155. Wow. 155. Is that like a milestone or close to a milestone? No.
No, not really.
Not even cool.
150 is the milestone, 200 is the next, but 155 just has a ring to it.
I guess it just rhymes. Well, this is your boy East Coast Trev, and
This is Steve.
what's up, Steve?
Same old brother, just theoretically in the real world, we're recovering from hunt stock.
Yeah, recovering was probably the reality of it. Yes,
Yeah.
that's probably what's going on. This is probably one of the craziest times that we've had in a long time. So I'm looking forward. I'm
At
looking
this
forward
point, you already
to
looked forward.
resting. Yes, but I'm looking forward to resting, right? I guess. So this is obviously a little bit pre-recorded because we are so busy with hunt stock and everything that we have going on there. For you guys that missed out, I'm sorry. For you guys that have won the giveaways, thank you, and congratulations. And it's just all good stuff, man. We've been busting our hump, and now back to the grind. And bear season's around the corner, deer season's around the corner. Things are really looking up. But before we get there, we're going to snap it back just a tiny bit and kind of stay in the fishing realm. I know we've kind of done a mixture of hunting and fishing, kind of what you guys have all asked for, more or less what we are, the Outdoor Drive. Not just hunting, not just bow hunting, but fishing also. And this one's actually kind of a special one. David is somebody who's been doing something very incredible for a very long time. And being able to fish the 50 is very awesome. And that's an achievement in itself. Not only has David caught a fish in all 50 states, but is now working on getting a trophy certificate in all 50 states. I know recently he was with me and caught his trophy fish number 44, which is incredible.
That's insane.
I mean, let's be honest. And I know Steven has been a fisherman his whole entire life. I've been a fisherman my entire life. When David had told me about this, I was blown away. And I still am blown away that it's even a thing. Like when I heard chasing 49, which is shooting a turkey in all 49 states, I was like, wow, that's the coolest thing ever. But I never thought about fishing 50 and catching fish in 50 states. And then to do that, and then to now go back and catch trophy fish.
Yeah, everything you catch is a citation or it doesn't count. I mean, that's like saying, hey, I'm going to go shoot a frickin' buck in all 50 states.
All 50 states.
I mean,
and it's not an easy thing to do. No. And we'll let David take us through it because I don't know. I mean, I know enough about it because I spent a lot of time with David, but I didn't get to dive into a lot of the stuff that we will dive in the podcast, and purposely did that so that we can now know, because when I had met David, I was like, he's got to be on a podcast. Like, that is one of the coolest things in the world. We need to talk about that. Like I'm still mind blown. I really, truly, honestly am. And it's cool as hell. And to be honest, Steve, he doesn't live very far from you.
Right.
So I can't wait. I really honestly can't wait to have everybody hear this and hear exactly what David's got going on in his world, because it's an incredible thing. It really is. And you guys can follow around his journey. He does have a website. He'll obviously let that out, but it's fishing50.com. And you guys can watch on his story and see what's going on. I mean, it's definitely an incredible thing. So let's snap into all of the sponsors here so we can get underway and kind of get these things. Let's get it down pat, huh?
Let's do it.
What do you think? All right, Nor'easter Game Calls, nor'eastergamecalls.com. Guys, if you guys haven't checked them out, deer season is just around the corner. You want to make sure to get over there and check out the new grunt tubes. Mark has done a phenomenal job. There's a whole line of them up and ready to go. Also, for you Sitka deer hunters, Sitka deer here starts on September 9th, so you want to make sure to grab those too. He does have a Sitka call on his website also. Huntworth.com.
Get hunt stock
gear
out of your head.
I know, man. It's crazy, right?
Huntworthgear.com.
Huntworthgear.com, guys. If you guys haven't checked that out, make sure you get on over there because their new products are insane. We've tested them. We're looking forward to deer season because we can test them out even more. Also, Latitude Outdoors. If you guys aren't in a saddle yet or want to be in a saddle, now's the time. We're getting closer to the deer season, but you guys need to be practicing. Check out the Method 2 and the Classic 2. Also, Bow Fishing Magazine, bowfishingmagazine.com for you guys that are bow fishermen, or even if you're not a bow fisherman, probably a really cool thing for you to go and check out, bowfishingmagazine.com. Also, Zeus Broadheads, newerarchery.com is where you can find them. The home of the B16, the Zeus Broadheads, the Aries Broadhead, and also now the new Hera, which is an incredible broadhead. We will soon have Nick Albanese on the podcast to talk about this new broadhead for the upcoming deer season. Vital Ground Outdoors, vitalgroundoutdoors.com. Mr. Matt Chola over there at Vital Grounds doing really big things with AM steel. Anything you can think about, his PSH, his aiders. He's got just about anything that you can think about when it comes to AM steel. Go and check him out over at vitalgroundoutdoors.com. And those are all of our sponsors and our people that we are associated with. We can't thank you guys enough for making it all possible. And for all of you guys at home, if you guys aren't subscribed on YouTube, aren't subscribed on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, any social media platform that you could possibly think about, if you can find us on it, make sure that you are there. For you guys that are, we can't thank you guys enough for what you guys do for us, but just make sure you subscribe. Share a podcast with a friend. Let somebody know. We can't thank you guys enough for that. And if you guys haven't gotten over to the outdoordrive.com, you might want to get on over there. We got some really cool stuff. There's a ton of merch, more stuff coming. All of our podcasts are on there, just a little bit of everything. And you can also get on our newsletter, which is a very important thing. If you guys aren't already on our newsletter, probably something you're going to want to get onto. We haven't done much with it, but we soon are, I promise you. So some really cool things coming from there. But what do you think, Steve?
I was thinking you ought to take a breath.
Yeah, I was thinking
You
about
hammered
it,
through
right?
that one.
Just trying, man. Like, we need to get these things recorded. I've been thinking about it. We need to do some different recording things because I'm bad with this sometimes, like long days, and then you try and do this, and we need to get some.
Yeah, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it adds that personal touch. You know,
Well, thanks. Thanks, because I have to do
pre-recorded.
it, Steve.
You know, that's what I'm saying. It's pre-recorded. It's like, okay, now you sound like Meteor.
Yeah.
Mid talk,
Well,
cut off, pre-recorded, cut back in. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, but it sounds great for the guy that's not doing it.
Hey, you said let's get into it, and I said, yeah, let's do it, and we did a great job. Just
Valid.
saying.
Valid. Very valid, Steve. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I concur.
We're a little
Speaking
loopy after the
of-
show.
Yeah. Soon. Speaking of pre-recorded, why don't we get on over to our buddy Mike Salter, get the news for your cruise, so everyone can know what's going on in the world.
Bringing you the news for the cruise is our good buddy Mike Salter. Take it away, Mike.
Hey everyone, we're going to kick this one off on the West Coast in California, where the governor signed a bill in June banning the marketing of guns to minors. Now a coalition of sportsmen groups has filed a lawsuit challenging the law, stating that the new law would cripple a wide range of youth hunting and educational programs. SoCal Top Guns is one of four groups going to court, saying their entire youth education program is on hold because of the new law, which carries up to a $25,000 fine for any promotion of guns that appears to be attractive to minors. This is having a rippling effect to kids' firearm safety training and competition, as well as hunter education. Multiple conservation groups have also opposed the new law, but have yet to file any lawsuits. The hunters group who filed the lawsuit stated that as a community, hunters have worked for decades to provide hunter safety education for the next generation of hunters. This law directly undermines a critical community service. I couldn't agree more, and hopefully the lawsuit will result in a win for youth hunters, and hopefully we can keep an eye on this as other states might try to do similar legislative action. So now to Idaho and Montana, where wolves are taking center stage once again. A coalition of 27 wolf advocacy groups have petitioned the Department of the Interior and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to develop a rule finding both Idaho and Montana ineligible for funding under the Pittman-Robertson Act. In 2021, the states adopted statutes to reduce wolf populations by enacting new hunting and trapping practices. The new laws did not result in increased wolf harvest by hunters and trappers or decrease in the wolf populations in those states. Regardless, based on the alleged threat to wolf populations in those states, the petitioners have asked the Department of Interior and Fish and Wildlife Service to find that Idaho and Montana are in violation of the assent language in the Pittman-Robertson Act and not eligible for federal aid funds. If DOI and Fish and Wildlife Service again finds that the arguments do not warrant a rulemaking to decline the state's ineligible, the petitioners are likely to ask federal courts to review the matter. The biggest concern here is that if the courts side with the petitioners, any state that fails to enact regulations that protect all species from unrestricted killing could potentially be found in violation of the act and lose funding. This would include any state that allows unregulated take of coyotes, prairie dogs, woodchucks, or gophers. They could be found ineligible for federal aid. So a case that could have sweeping effects on conservation and hunter education funding across the country. Sticking with Montana, Fish and Wildlife and Parks is seeking public comments on recommendations for commercial use and recreational management of the Madison River, one of the most popular recreation destinations in the state. The overall goals of the commercial recommendations are to establish rules for commercial outfitting and users that manage social conflicts and crowding at the river and at fishing access sites to protect and optimize opportunities and quality experiences, and to provide opportunities for new river service providers. The goal of the recreational recommendations are to preserve the quality of recreation, protect the resources, collect data on recreational use, and commit to developing a comprehensive Madison River recreation plan. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks will be holding meetings from September 6th to the 14th, which you can attend by registering on their website. And public comments can be submitted through Fish, Wildlife, and Parks website through October 14th this year. Now to Minnesota, where the bear season opens September 1st, and the DNR is again asking hunters to avoid shooting marked research bears. The 25 research bears are marked with distinctive large colorful ear tags and are fitted with radio collars, which are often hidden by the bear's coat. DNR has recognized that hunters may not be able to see the tags or collars in some situations, and for this reason, taking the bears is legal. Most collar bears have small implanted heart monitors, which are under the skin on the left side of the chest. DNR is asking that any collared bears harvested have the collar and the monitors returned to DNR. Other bears also have smaller ear tags that are 1 inch by 1/4 inch, as opposed to the study bears, which are about 3 inches by 2 inches on the tags. These are part of another research project and can be harvested. Hunters who harvest collared or tagged bears are asked to call the DNR Wildlife Research Office, and hunters with trail camera photos of such bears are asked to email any photos and location information to mnbearcams@state.mn.us. Lastly, to Vermont, where the Fish and Wildlife Department is offering a new instructor training course for anyone interested in volunteering to teach hunter education in the state. The training is scheduled for Tuesday, August 30th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Perro's Gun Shop in Waterbury. The training will cover policies and procedures, field techniques, and teaching methods. Applicants will need to pass a background check and apprentice teach with a chief instructor before receiving their full certification. Those interested should fill out an application at vtfishandwildlife.com/NODE/128 and register for the training event online or call the education office. If you can't make this training, ones will be offered in the future, and applications can be submitted at any time. As always, if you have any news, feel free to send it along. Reach out to me at Mike Salter on Facebook or bearded_bowhunter21 on Instagram. And with that, enjoy the rest of your ride.
As always, man, Mike Salter knocking it out of the park. Thank you guys. If you guys haven't sent over your news to Mr. Mike Salter, make sure you guys do so. There's so much good stuff. Deer season's about to know. Poaching stories, we want to hear about them. Send them over to Mike. You can check him out at Bearded Bow Hunter on Instagram or on Facebook. He's on all of our groups, Mike Salter. So thank you for sending over your news for your cruise. But enough of the BS. You want to get to the show, man? I want to get to David, and I want to hear about fishing the 50.
Yeah, this has my interest peaked, so I think we roll right into it.
Let's go. All right, we're back on the phone with David Howard. Hey, Dave, how are you, buddy?
Good, man. How you doing, Trevor?
Oh, hanging in there, man. Thanks for taking the time and joining us on this one. We're super excited about it.
Yeah, no, I'm psyched since you told me about it on your birthday of all times.
That's
too.
right.
So it was a good man working on his birthday. So.
Yeah. Well, hey, how could you miss it, right? You're going fishing on your birthday. I mean, how bad could it really be? You know?
Yeah.
Well, why don't we turn the key, man? Let's get this thing underway. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Okay. David Howard. I'm from Arlington, Virginia. I live out in Vienna now, and I am on a mission to catch a trophy in all 50 states. I guess for my job, I crunch numbers, but that's really boring, so I'll just skip over that.
We'll just
But
say you're a pro fisherman.
Nobody wants to
yeah,
hear
yeah, yeah, in my dream. So yeah, it's yeah, it's but yeah, I did a while back, like on my buddy's bachelor party back in like '07. I just decided that we were out in Vegas. You know, Vegas is awesome for a bachelor party, but like during the day, everybody's just kind of sitting around, and I'm like, what can I do that isn't sitting by a pool? And I had like this is back when like Bassmaster had an actual magazine with actual print copies. So
Right.
like I brought by to like read out the plate, and then I was just like they happened to have like an article about Lake Mead, and the one
Yep.
I was reading, I was just like, oh, I should look this up. So like went out there and fished with a guy, and like the fishing, like it's funny, the fishing sucked, but it was just so exciting to be at like a new place that was like just totally different from anything I've fished. I mean, Lake Mead is just I've saw some rough times lately, but it's just a totally different environment. It's like being on the moon if you
Yeah.
like see pictures. Yeah, so
Yep.
it's just crazy. But yeah, and then like so that was when I decided I was gonna fish all 50 states. So I like did some research and did a lot of research and spent let's see 8 years doing that. Then I finished up on my honeymoon, which is pretty cool. And then lately I've been going back to the states I didn't catch a trophy in, including Connecticut, where I met Trevor and got on some trophy stripers. So now I'm at 44 states with at least one trophy. So
That's
yeah,
crazy.
it's cool, man. I've been loving it. And then there's like in Virginia they have trophies in 30 different freshwater species, and then a bunch of different saltwater ones. So I've been trying to do that too, but that's um, I've really gotten into the saltwater more in the last like year or two. Like I was talking with Trevor about it when I was up there, and it's just I mean it's great. But I just hadn't really appreciated it much because there's just like Virginia. I mean, we're blessed with salt and fresh, and I had just always done fresh and hadn't really paid much attention other than like going out with my friends and getting drunk on the bay and like catching stripers. But like that was
Right.
it, right? It wasn't like I had been taking it too seriously, but lately I have been. So it's been a lot of fun.
So when this journey had all kind of started, like what was kind of like in your mind? Like, I'm just gonna go fish these 50 states. Like, why?
Yeah, it
Where
was
did
just
it even
like
come from?
well, yeah, I guess because it was like, because I was just out there in like the desert, right? And like, when you think like Vegas, you don't necessarily think like awesome fishing, right? So like,
Right.
but then I had just like gone out there and just found like a cool thing to do with my time, and then it was like, oh, this will be great because like I've lived in Virginia my whole life, and I'd traveled some, but I hadn't been to a lot of the states, so I was like, oh, this would be a cool thing to do, like as I like whenever I travel. So then like some of the states I had fished in like when I was a kid, like Connecticut, my dad's from up there, and but I hadn't really like taken it as seriously, because when you're a kid, like I guess some kids take it really seriously, but like when I was a kid, I was just kind of like, oh, cool, sunfish, and like my kids are the same way, like it's like like it's an awesome day on the water if you catch like a billion fish that are this big, right? So
Constant.
so then like
action.
as I was getting more serious about it, I was like, oh man, there's like a lot of great water in every state that and it's and like and then like I went to like there's random places, like a lot of people don't go to South Dakota to fish, right? A lot of people go to South Dakota to hunt. Don't get me wrong, like they
Well-
got some really serious birding there, but like it doesn't like when I mentioned it, people are kind of like okay, but
No, I
had
laugh and joke. Even earlier tonight, the wife was like, if we were to leave Virginia and go anywhere, where would you guys? Said South Dakota.
oh yeah,
Hands down. Not without a doubt.
oh yeah, I loved South Dakota. It was beautiful too. I had no idea what to expect. Like I kind of just it's funny, like yeah, growing up on the East Coast and not traveling through the Midwest much at all, I kind of expected it all to be flat, but South Dakota isn't like that at all.
No.
Like the Missouri breaks aren't like that, and then like obviously you got the Black Hills, but like I went to Pier and fished on Oahe for smallmouth, and it's just this beautiful fishery, and it's just empty. And like coming from the East Coast, it's just nice to get out there into like true open space, right? Like we're on this huge lake, like bigger than anything we got in Virginia, and then there are no other boats on it.
No,
It's just
it's
us.
wide open.
Yeah, and then there's just amazing smallmouth fishing, and that everyone I've talked to since then is like, oh, I didn't know that. It's like nobody
Yeah.
knew that.
Yeah,
It was
it's
just
not a
like-
thing there.
Yeah, like I talked to the guide, and I was like, "Do you get a lot of people from outside of South Dakota?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I get some people from like Nebraska and like North Dakota." And I'm thinking to myself, like, "Okay, well,
That's not what I was asking. But
yeah, exactly." I was
Yep.
like, "Yeah," but yeah, it was funny because I just yeah, I mean, it was just phenomenal. So I've been like trying to like talk up some of these states whenever I go places, and but yeah, it's I
Well,
mean, it's just been
let's
great.
not talk up South Dakota too much. I want people to keep thinking it's just a cold, desolate, flat area.
Yes, yes.
So when we run to the hills, we can enjoy
Yeah,
it.
note to the listeners, I just lied to you. South Dakota is not worth,
it's
definitely
horrible.
not worth going to.
No,
Yes. It's like deer hunting in Iowa. Don't do it.
no, don't do that. Is there was there anybody that has done it before you? Like, where did you get the idea to fish the 50? Like, is there other people that have done this before?
Since I started, I was in, let's see, Indiana, and I talked with the guy I was fishing with. We were fishing for steelhead, and they have the Skamania steelhead, which do like a June run, which is cool. Like it was just something. So you're like in the middle of the state that, again, I hadn't really thought much of its fishing. Then all of a sudden you have these steelhead. They come out of Lake Michigan, and they just like, they're coming in hot, and they're just amazing fish to fight. But anyway, yeah, I was talking to him, and he's like, well, I've only ever met one guy from Virginia, and he was fishing the 50 states. And like Indiana was state like 11 or 12 for me. And I was like,
Wow.
that is pretty weird, man. I was like, that's what I'm doing. And then like, yeah, so he told me about that. It was like a father. So there's a cool story. I don't know them, but they're from kind of near me, I think. But it was like a father son. And it was before the son went to college. And so they were like
Gotcha.
going around the country and doing that. So I found out about that. I checked out, I think they had a website or something anyway, but, and then like last year, two dudes like kids from the next town over had like emailed me and were like, "Oh, we're gonna do this, like fish the 50 states and catch the state fish and all the states. Like, do you have any advice for us?" And like I kind of didn't think they'd follow through with it, so I was like, "Oh yeah, cool." I just like gave them some like generic advice, and then there was like then I checked them out and they had like actually like I think they finished it. I'm not sure, but they like got written up in some papers and like there was some like merch and everything, and it was yeah. So I mean, they did it too. So yeah, there's another guy.
Apparently,
but yeah, I mean, it's
people
like
here in
just,
Virginia just like to travel and fish.
I don't know. Yeah, that's like the weirdest part. Like I do know a guy from Ohio who's doing it. So he's like the only non-Virginian I know doing it. But yeah, but it's been fun and very kind of like random. And you just like, and yeah, so I've just seen so many different cool places I know like literally lockdown to guarantee I would never have seen if I weren't doing this,
Right.
like I said, pure South Dakota, you definitely don't want to go there and enjoy all that natural beauty all by yourself. So
Is there a lot of things that you've learned about fishing by doing the 50 states? Like new things that you've learned by being in those states and fishing?
yeah, I think that it was great for me because it also kind of like a lot of guys that grow up around here, it's kind of like bass and catfish, and you do that, and then that's kind of all you do. And like, I mean, sometimes you go into the mountains for trout, but like I tried to go after fish that we don't have around here, and then so it was just kind of like all new techniques, and like sometimes it was like just fish that you see on TV, like the sturgeon, like out in Oregon, and like that
Right.
was awesome. But then also times it was just like some random ass. Like I was in Iowa and caught a yellow bass, which I had never heard of. And it was like this like really cool looking. It looked like a white bass that somebody taking like a yellow highlighter and like colored them
It's like
on
a
them.
peacock bass minus the extra color.
Yeah. It was like it had this like really cool coloration. But yeah, I learned a bunch of different techniques which were good. Like I mean, most of the fishing that I did was spin fishing, but then towards the end I was doing more fly fishing, and then I really picked up a lot of stuff because like out in Nevada, the way they fish for the cutthroat trout is,
Right.
I mean, it's like just these huge cutthroat trout on Pyramid Lake. So kind of like the little standard dinky roll cast and stuff that I would do, and on the South River in Virginia, like isn't really going to cut it with those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was cool. It was also like some of the fish, like the paddlefish in Oklahoma, like they're filter feeders.
Mm-hmm.
They don't eat when they don't eat anything that we would have on a hook. So you got to snag them. So at first I was just like, well, that sounds kind of like cheating, but man, like once you hook into one of those, like it doesn't really feel like cheating because you are fighting that fish and it is just tearing off. So
Is that the only one that you snag? Because don't they snag salmon in Alaska also?
yeah, they do. I didn't when I was up there, but yeah, I think like the pink run, the pink salmon, they do like basically you essentially do like you're casting a fly, and then they're not feeding, but if you can get the line like kind of like in their mouth, which is open when they go upstream, then you like snag it. Then they describe it as like flossing their teeth, and then
Yep.
you do that. Like I said, I was up there for king salmon, and then they closed it, so I went to rainbow trout because it was kind of just more in my wheelhouse than like flossing a fish's teeth. But yeah, it was.
The Oswego lift, they call it.
Oh, did
That's what they do. Yeah, they do that in the salmon river. It's the same thing. I mean, when you're salmon fishing in the salmon river or Oswego, they literally do the same exact thing. Like you're lifting, and if you lift too many times, so you only get one lift on a swing. So that bait starts to swing downriver, and you literally fall with your rod, and then you feel it kind of stop, and you have one lift. And if you don't have a fish on that lift, you have to reel in your rod.
Oh,
You
man.
cannot follow through with your drift, because then you get excessive lifting, which is crazy. Like you get a ticket for like $250 for excessive lifting.
That's
You
crazy.
think I was a bodybuilder, right? No.
Yeah. I get those tickets all the time. Yeah, no, I didn't know that, man. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Something a
no,
little different.
nice. Yeah, I mean it's wild, just some of the different things. Another thing, I guess another technique that I learned and caught like my just huge lake trout in Wyoming on was like we do like I do a lot of vertical jigging, and like I really like vertical jigging. But man, like the vertical jigging you do out there is like you're lifting, like you're in like 100 feet of water on the lake I was fishing at, and you're lifting your like like little swim bait, like little tube, lifting it like an inch off of the ground, like just to like simulate, because the lake trout are like all the way down there. They're looking for basically a fish that's like not even just like dying, but like 90 something percent dead. Like this thing is just like they're looking for this fish that's
They're
like
looking
just
for the
giving up.
buffet. No effort
What's
needed.
up?
The buffet. No effort needed.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, so you're out there, like, yeah, I said, it's like a massive body of water. It's so deep. And then you're just like, "Doot, doot." And then I'm thinking like, honestly thinking to myself, like, this is stupid. There's no way. And then sure enough, like some like 50-pound lake trout just slams my lure. And then it like, it was like one of the best fish of my life. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how did someone discover this? Right. But like, it was cool. I tried it with saltwater stripers and an eel in Delaware, and had some luck doing that, like this very minor way of jigging it. But yeah, that was cool. But yeah. Oh shit, my internet connection's unstable. Can you guys still
Oh,
hear
you're
me?
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're there.
we got you. Yeah, you're good.
All right, cool. All right, nice.
Yeah, no. So when you say vertical jigging, like as far as like flutter spoon type vertical jigging, or
Just bouncing
the kind that
bottom.
I do a lot of. Yeah, in Virginia, it's that's we were talking about that a little bit after you had that gentleman on your show who was talking
John
about it with
Skinner.
a flutter spoon.
yeah,
And yeah, and he was we do a decent amount of that on Lake Anna for
Yeah.
stripers and hybrids and then largemouth. And that so that kind of more aggressive form of jigging was something I was kind of more used to. I kind of like like an actual pull, and then letting it flutter down. Or sometimes like if you're using like as if you're using spoons, like sometimes like if you're jigging bait or jigging like like a swim bait or whatever, it's kind of like the standard kind of up and down. But like I hadn't done any of that like really gentle lifting that's like kind of like finesse jigging. Like I hadn't done that. So,
That's a good
We
one.
don't look
that
like
was cool.
finesse.
That was different.
Yeah.
we don't look like finesse guys. We're not
Yeah,
really
yeah, no,
finesse
I'm
guys.
not. I'm definitely more like a hammer guy than like a chisel kind of guy.
That's
So,
nuts.
yeah.
And is there something that's what kind of like sticks out in your mind in all of your traveling? Like one thing that's like the story, like the end all be all in the traveling that you've done and fishing all these states.
No, I mean, it's funny. I feel stupid saying it, but like I've loved like pretty much every state. Like it was just, yeah, like every time I'm there, I'm like just trying for like something new. And like some of the states, like you think like, oh, this state's gonna suck. But then you go there and then like it's actually like really cool. You like find something that's like cool about it that you didn't think. Like New Mexico is a good example,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like New Mexico is like
That's,
you think like just desert, right? And it's just like, and then you see Breaking Bad, and you think like, oh, cool, I'm gonna get like shot by Tuco Salamanca or something. So like, you're not really thinking like, this is something that's gonna be great for fishing. But then like, I went and like, it was south of Albuquerque. It was just beautiful. Again, it was like open, like in other states that we won't mention so that people don't go there, but just like wide open spaces. And then the mountain, I didn't even know that New Mexico had mountains. And then it had these like beautiful
the Sandias and all of that. Yeah, that's where all my in-laws are.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then then since then I've learned about like one of my buddies like elk hunts out there every year. And he like, talks about it like it was just, like, oh yeah, of course I go to New Mexico, and I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, you get down in the Chamas along the Arizona border. It's some wonderful, wonderful hunting.
Yeah. He had like, when I was up there talking with Trevor, I was just like, man, I wish that I like had Billy, like my buddy on speakerphone. He like heads up the archery department at this game store down in Richmond, or a gear store, and he like he's just so into bow hunting and everything. But yeah, he was like just telling me all about like the places he goes in New Mexico to hunt, and he's just like, he's like like hikes like 13 hours a day to get up like into the mountains. And I'm thinking to myself like, Jesus, like you don't think of those kinds of distances, at least like coming from back east. You don't think of New Mexico as having that kind of stuff. But
what was the trophy fish in New Mexico?
Pardon?
What was the trophy fish in New Mexico?
White bass. I was going for striped bass, but yeah, that was another kind of big surprise. So the striper bite wasn't great, but man, the white bass there get so big. Like in Virginia, it has to be 16 inches for a trophy, and in New Mexico, the biggest one I got was 24 inches, which would like it was just this massive white bass.
So what is the difference between a striped bass and a white bass?
In terms of like the white bass are generally much smaller, and like you gotta look at like the markings. I think like the striped bass have 3 lines that go to the tail, and then like the white has like 1. It's something minor like that, but usually it's like this. I mean, honestly, you can often tell by the size. Like when I caught that, I counted the lines. I like looked up and I was like, okay, because I can't remember all this stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it was. But the striped bass, I mean the ones out there just are pretty big. The hybrid striped bass are a little easier to tell. They have like a broken line, and they also kind of look like a football, which is nice.
Right.
So it's
pumpkin bass.
They're a lot of fun to catch. I targeted those in Nebraska and just like had a blast with them. Yeah, because you wouldn't think, like you reel it in and you think like, was this little fish giving me all this fight, right? Because I mean they're just like these like they're like the feisty little guy. Like
they hit you, and it's like catching a 4-pound smallie. They got all that muscle. They put up a good fight, and you pull them out, and it's like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, you're the size of a bluegill.
Yeah. It was crazy. Like, the ones in Nebraska were like 24 inches was the trophy minimum, and like mine was like right at that. And nice. I was like, but I was sure that when I was fighting about, so like, oh man, this is definitely like like thinking to myself, this is like some massive fish. And then I ended up just like barely eking out a trophy, and I was like, oh, cool.
Hey, that works.
Like, well, yeah. I mean, it worked. Got the paperwork and everything. But man, I was impressed by that. It was So I mean, mostly, I guess, to get back to your question, I mean, like the biggest thing for me is just trying to find new fish and like just being open-minded to all the different places. Like a lot of people, and I was definitely one of these people, just had all these like preconceptions about what each state was going to be like. And then sometimes you get there and you're like, okay, I wasn't that far off. But like a lot of times you get there and you're like, whoa, man, I don't know anything about this place. And it's like, it's cool to have like done that. And then sometimes like now I'm like that annoying guy, whenever I meet somebody and they're like, oh, I'm from wherever. I'll be like, oh, where? And then like, then I'll get to like tell them stuff shit they already know about their state and they're like, cool, thanks. Yeah. But it's like,
yeah.
I mean, it's just been a lot of fun.
I'm curious. So with everywhere you went and everything, the one that sticks out that I'm curious about is Florida, because of you have so many different choices. How did that trip go?
Oh, that was great. Yeah, Florida. My grandparents lived in Sarasota, and then I had family up in Kissimmee. So I had been to Florida. I had actually fished it kind of before this started. But then that was one of the states I hit early on. Like winters, like around Christmas, I'd always try to like be like, oh, Mom, can we go visit Grandma? Because it's it's like 1,000 degrees down there and it's freezing in Virginia. So, but yeah, it was, so like, I just went down again. This is Florida was one of those states I picked with like an ad for a guide from Bassmaster magazine. So it's like I feel like I'm plugging them a lot. But anyway, it's just like, yeah, it was like this guy that fished on Toho, and I just was like, okay, this guy looks good. And then, and it was real close to my family in Kissimmee, and then like easy drive from Sarasota, and then we just had like a lights out day. It was cold by Florida standards. It was like probably right by most places standards. It was like 30 something in the morning. So no one was fishing. So Toho, I mean, like everyone's heard of it. It's so popular, but no one was there because everybody in Florida is like, oh, it's 30. I'm not going out.
Yep.
But man, it was an insane bite. The guide was from Minnesota, so he and I didn't really care about that. It was like, it was just crazy. Like every like largemouth was like an amazing largemouth, and it was just like every cast. It was one of these trips where you just like, everything you do is awesome. And but like I'd fished on my own for some bass and caught some decent carp doing that, and then like I said, I didn't get into salt water until more recently, and then I went down and caught some Goliath grouper. Let's see, that was like a number of years ago. So that because like my wife had never been down to Sarasota, so I was like, we're going, and then that was a fun fish too. It was like kind of a bizarre experience because you catch the small fish for bait, but then the next fish that you catch up, like barracuda and amberjacks and that stuff, are also bait that you're then using. So it's just like you spend like like all these levels to get to that, and then you're out there like randomly catching bull sharks that the Goliaths then eat, and you're like, oh my god, this is insane. But Florida was it was cool. I like. And honestly, if somebody were to ask me, like, what one thing do you recommend? Like, I don't even know. Like, I'm trying to get back there at some point and do some, like, fly fishing on the flats. It's like, I mean, it's like you said, it's like literally everything is world class. And so, I mean, like, so what do you choose?
Yeah, you mix in the peacock bass, you mix in the drum, you mix in all of that. It's like, okay, well, what do you go for? Because they're all good.
They have bonefish. They have all kinds of crazy stuff there. I mean, Florida is just one of those areas that like
you can get that species of snakehead down there.
Yes, they do have. Yep, they have that crazy snakehead there. Absolutely.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about that. One of my buddies in Virginia fishes for snakehead a lot, and and he had mentioned like going down there and then catching them, and it was kind of funny because I guess it's a different one, right?
Yeah, it's a different subspecies.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah,
they're nuts.
Pardon?
They're nuts. I mean, have you caught a snakehead before?
No, I actually haven't. It's funny. Everybody talks about like,
right there on the Potomac. Why have you not gone up and got it?
No, it's funny. Yeah, everybody's just like, oh my god, I can't believe they're killing the river. And I was just like, I've been fishing here my whole life, and I have not caught one. I've seen them, and like, I guess like the people that target them catch them a lot, but like they're not as much of a bite. I mean, it's just one of these things where everybody has something to complain about, right? And so some people are like if you go out there and you have a bad day bass fishing, like you don't want to be like, I suck at bass fishing. You want to be like, oh, it's because the snakehead ate all the bass, and they're just not here anymore,
Well,
such a truth.
Anybody who fishes the Potomac, especially up around your way, and says there's no bass, whether it's large, small, because the snakeheads are full of shit, because that river is loaded.
Yeah. No, I'll put it this way. I have not seen any decline in like the bass production because of the snakehead. Like the only way that the fishery has really changed is since the blue cats have come up the Potomac, there are fewer channels.
Right.
But, and that kind of sucks because I like channel catfish, but I mean, the blue's getting massive. So like, if you're trying to get out there and like bottom fish and catch a big fish, like it's, they're there. Like, one of the guide services on the Potomac just caught like an 84 pounder recently. I think the river record's like 90 something.
Yeah,
so, I mean, like,
because that beats out the James damn near.
Yeah. It's so I mean, it's like, and so like I'm that weirdo being like, oh, it's too bad about the channel catfish, but like nobody cares.
Yeah. It's like, you just come up to the Shenandoah and get your channels there. We got plenty.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah, I love fishing the Shenandoah. So so I haven't really minded that because it's like. It's kind of a different experience because it was all kind of like largemouth and blue on the Potomac, but then you go to the Shenandoah and it's all like smallmouth and channel,
Yep.
So it's like a lot of like surface baits, a lot of it's kind of just like a different way of fishing. So
yep. I mean, and that's one thing that's great about the fishery around here is you can literally travel 20 minutes and be in an entirely different fishery. Salt, fresh, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, it's so you're down near Stanton then.
I'm in Front Royal.
Front Royal.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. What the hell was Eric talking about? Yeah. That's what Trevor had told me. And then Eric's like, oh, yeah, he lives next to me. It's just like, I ain't that live next to you.
I'm not
But,
far from
yeah,
it.
Front Royal. So, yeah, like Frederick and stuff, like Lake Frederick, like
Yep.
that's another
Yeah,
like,
Lake
cool
Frederick,
fishery
Lake
that-
Anna, all of that stuff. That's all. I'm kind of centralized. I'm spoiled.
Nice. Yeah. I go out to Frederick a lot to go after the mythical pike that are in there. And
Well,
it's like,
you got the mythical pike there, but you got the mythical muskie here in the Shenandoah.
yeah.
So-
I'm going to get more into muskie. Last year I got invited to join an angler club in Virginia, and they have kind of a whole different like trophy and award system that I've gotten into. And it's like, so it's one of the things that I love about fishing is like, there's just always something different to be doing and like
Right.
some like bigger fish to catch. And this club like really emphasizes light tackle. So like,
Yep.
I went out and caught like I had like 2-pound test on like a bait caster, a 2-pound test on a spinning rod, and went out and caught like sunfish and small bass. But like I needed to in order to get like points for a certain category. And it's like that's cool because I had never bought 2-pound tests before this, right? Like I had never like rigged up this stuff and like tried to find out what plug you could throw on like a 2-pound test.
Yep.
Like
Not
it's like all the
much.
stuff in them. Yeah, not much is definitely the answer to that. So it's cool to like learn all that. And then just have that aspect of my kind of fishing resume get filled in. So yeah, so that's been really cool. But yeah, no, definitely like those muskie. I'm coming for them because they're one of the fish. Like I caught them before I joined the club, but I got to go back and get them now that I'm in it because they're one of the required species. So, but that's cool.
Nice.
Like I love muskie fishing. It was just I had done a lot of it down on the New River, and then just like on the Shenandoah, I had just been targeting channels because I still needed a channel, and so like hadn't gotten as into the muskie. So
Yep. Well, where we hit, if you ever get bored and come out here, it's nothing but channel muskie and smalley.
all right, we're on, Steven. I'm definitely all about it. You could ask Trevor. It's like I followed up with him like immediately, and I was like, dude, so when are we doing the podcast? And I was like, I feel like a stalker. I was just like, I hope he wasn't just saying that.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
We're always
do-
happy to have people join in.
Thanks, man.
I do want to dive into the trophy aspect of it. So
Okay.
what does it mean for the listeners, obviously, what does it mean to catch a trophy fish in each state? Like can you dive into like what the state requires and how you go about doing it to actually register it as a trophy fish?
Sure thing. Yeah, I'd love to. I'm very excited to talk about this. When I told my wife I was doing this podcast, she's like, "Oh, good. So you get to talk about your quest for an hour to somebody new." I was like, "Yeah, exactly. Right?
Yes.
Like, how cool is that?" So yeah, so there are.
You got to tell them the rule though, David. You have to tell them the rule with your wife,
yeah.
how you're not allowed to talk about fishing.
Yep. No. Yeah. I get. Yeah. My wife has like one of those little cards you get in soccer when you like do something wrong or whatever.
Yellow
And
card.
it's like, yeah, exactly. So it's like so if she brings it up, then I can talk about it. But if I just kind of like randomly come charging into her, like into her office after like a long day of work, and I'm like, oh my god, fishing, then she'll be like, nope.
Yellow card.
So, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's so awesome. When he had told me that story, I was like, that's incredible. That's
Yeah.
where the balance comes into play between the outdoorsman and the home life. I think it's incredible.
Yeah. So it's like it is, but it has worked out really well because like one of the things you learn is how to get really sneaky about kind of like sneaking it into conversation. And it's just like she'll mention some random thing, and I was just like, oh yeah, they have great fishing there. And then just kind of like let it, like put your line out there and see if she finds.
I went to the grocery store and I saw they had fish. Oh, really? We could save money if we just went here and went fishing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, wow, the price of striped bass really went up. It must be because they aren't catching as many this year. Then just wait for the reaction.
That's great.
Yeah, but yeah, so there are 37 states that have an official program where they like through the Game and Fish Department that they will have like certain species and then the minimums for those species. A lot of states do length or weight, and then some do just one or the other. And then there's a saltwater. I found that there were like Connecticut has one, Rhode Island has one, Massachusetts has one, and then like Virginia has one. So saltwater, luckily, I was able to kind of get into that too. And then for the states that don't, I kind of luckily there weren't many states like in a row that didn't have one. So like Alabama has one, Mississippi doesn't, Texas has one, Louisiana doesn't. So it's like you can just to be like, all right, well, if I'm fishing on the, like Louisiana, Mississippi line, then I can use like, you could safely say that what's a big enough big enough red drum in one state is probably big enough red drum in the other because you're like,
Yeah.
spitting distance away. But yeah, so then like usually it's on their site, and actually I think it's always on their website. And then like some places like Georgia and Minnesota just have like a ton of species on there. Like I definitely encourage anyone whoever wants to like say they caught a trophy. It's like I think one of those states has like several different types of like suckers on there and like rainbow darts and all these things. It's like it's cool that like they just get into that level of detail about it.
Especially with
Virginia
fish that you
has
wouldn't
like
normally target. Those are fish you normally wouldn't target.
yeah,
You kind of go out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about it is to like kind of push yourself as an angler and be like, all right, this is like that yellow bass in Iowa, for instance. It was like I have no idea about this, right? So I mean, it does. You get out there and like, what was the Iowa yellow bass minimum? Yeah, it was like 10 inches, right? So this isn't like some massive like fish you're gonna get, but it's cool. I mean, then you can also like keep track. Like I also kept track of the number of species I caught, so that was cool to add like yellow bass and stuff. But yeah, most of the time, like a few states like Alabama had pretty high minimums, and Alaska has really high minimums, and then some states like you can kind of see which species are the easier ones to get. Like in Virginia, the blue catfish is like just ridiculously small. I don't know what it is, but it's like
I want to say
30
it's like,
pounds.
Yeah, it's next to nothing to get a citation on a blue cat here.
Yeah, so it's like, and then there are your guides down on the James that like guarantee citations because this is that. So it's like, that was kind of one of the things I'd look at and be like, all right, so it's like if this state has really good whatever, and then the minimum is this, like I think I could get that. Versus like, and that was kind of one of the things I learned as I went along. Because in Alaska, I was like, dude, I really want to catch king salmon, and like everybody does, but Alaska's minimum is 75 pounds on the Kenai River, and it's just like. Yeah, so it's like, okay, so that's not gonna happen for me. So it's like
that's not even a reachable goal.
Yeah,
that's not even a reachable goal.
I know it's like 75 on the Kenai, and then like 50 on some of the other ones. But it's like that's still insane. Like on the Castillo, I don't see that many 50-pounders getting pulled out like in a year. So yeah, I mean it's like nuts. So it's like, but anyway, yeah. So it was
How
like
so it is.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. So there was like some of kind of like trying to strategy involved in finding like what species can I legitimately expect to get a trophy in if like when I target it. So yeah, I mean it's a lot of research. Whenever people ask me about it, it's like, I mean it's awesome. I've loved every minute, but like to do it, and that's why I told the guys that when they asked me about fishing for the state fish, I was like, honestly, like for each state, you can probably expect to spend like at least like 40 hours researching just like every aspect of it to find out like cheap way to get there, cheap place to stay. And then, of course, the meat of it, where are you going to fish? What are you going to fish for? What time of it? And especially when it's like a species you don't know anything about, like the yellow bass. It's like, when the hell are the yellow bass biting the best, And it's like that sort of thing. But then when you do it, you can really like I think one of the reasons that I've been blessed with such a good success rate is that like you can kind of see like, oh, these guys are catching this fish. And like a lot of guides will tell you too, like, it's like, oh, we catch our best, say, wake trout, like right after ice off in May. Which, first of all, for the record, was disturbing when they told me that in Colorado and Wyoming. It was like May. I was like, it's 1,000 degrees in Virginia in May.
Yeah.
You guys are like,
winter's just ending.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. So it's like that sort of thing, and then you could kind of tailor your trip around that. But yeah, no, it's been really cool. There are some states that are really like all about doing catch and release, which is nice, and they'll like have these minimums, and then others because that's always kind of one of the things is you got to look for is like if you want the official paperwork, like in South Dakota it was like they have the catch and release minimum, but then also weight minimum, but then of course to get the weight minimum you have to get it like kill the fish, take it to a store, and it's like I'm not gonna kill some like 4-pound smallmouth, right? But like but they have like I had like certified scales and everything, so it's like I could do that myself, but it's like that sort of thing. So like in Virginia, you got to have the certified scales too. So it's like, but if you want to do just like a picture of you measuring your fish, you can send that in, and then they'll be like, cool. Like Iowa even put a picture of me with my yellow bass on my trophy form, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
But that's really awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, so they've done like, yeah, each state kind of treats it a little different. Like, I don't know who started it, but like Virginia's, West Virginia's, Tennessee's, and North Carolina's are like identical. It's like the same dudes, art and everything. And I'm
Yep.
like, all right, well, I got it from Tennessee. I was like, well, this looks familiar. I've definitely seen this. And then like got it from West Virginia, and I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, I have this one too.
Yep.
So, but
Exactly.
yeah, like, but most of the states do. The states outside of my little region, I guess, are a little more original about it and send you some like cool stuff. And
You get like pins and stuff from some states
yeah,
and
like
stuff like that, right?
Arkansas and Georgia like sent me some pins, and then Nebraska and like Iowa and Kansas had some like kind of cool official looking stuff. And like you said, Iowa included the picture of me with my fish on there. And yeah, and then like in Minnesota, when you get a trophy, they put you in the Minnesota Fishing Hall of Fame, which I thought was like pretty cool. So that was like something fun
That's
to like
wicked
just
cool.
have
Nice.
there. So yeah,
So,
yeah. I
curious,
mean,
how did Arizona go?
Arizona went great. I did when I was in Arizona. I did smallmouth and largemouth, fished Apache and saguaro outside of Phoenix,
Yep.
and I'll tell you that is not a well kept secret. Like
No.
Apache is like impossible to get to. You're driving on this like rutted out road, carved into a mountain. Like I had just told the guy that I was going to meet him there, and he's like, "Nah, you're going to ride with me." And I was like, "Well, whatever." And like it's pitch black when we're going there, so I didn't really think anything of it. Then on the back, we're trailing on this boat, like driving around this road that is like, it's like 1,000 foot drop on
Yeah.
one side, and it's like as wide as this truck. And I'm like, yeah, my little rental like Dodge Charger would have just gone flying off of that road so fast.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was. But there were still, and like even with all that, there was still like a decent number of people on Apache, and then Saguaro is like,
Yeah,
20 minutes
it's a
outside of
sports
Phoenix.
lake.
So,
Yeah.
it was just getting pounded. I mean, it was awesome. Like I caught, let's see how big it was. I got my notes right here, but yeah, it's like I got a trophy largemouth there, and it was great. Like it was just like bass fishing, kind of more stuff that I was used to. It was also a fish with a guy who used to fish professionally. This guy Rob Vanderkoy, and he was great. But yeah, it was not like a well kept secret, so I can definitely say that
Yeah.
on the air.
Yeah.
And
Well, nothing in Arizona is really a well kept secret except for our elk. But
Yeah.
next time you go there, you need to go up to the White Mountains and go chase some brown trout.
nice.
Get the
Yeah,
brownies.
I had been planning on doing pike like originally when I went out there, like kind of up near like Flagstaff, but
Yep.
then I mean they got me to stay around Phoenix because they're like, dude, you don't have to drive at all because it's like basically like like the Phoenix suburb is
Yeah.
like it's Saguaro and it's like you'll catch. Yeah, how big was my fish?
Well,
Yeah, so
and that's why I say next time you go out, you did the desert fishing. Now you need to go up and try Arizona alpine fishing.
yeah, that's cool. You done that, Steven?
Yeah, I was born and raised 3 hours north of Phoenix.
Oh, nice.
So I
Nice.
spent most of my life in northern Arizona, and once you go up over the rim, you think you're in Colorado.
Nice.
It's like Flagstaff everywhere, and
Cool.
everything is high alpine lakes. You got rainbows, you got cutthroats, you got brownies, you got brookies, and they're tough to get the big ones, but when you land them, whew.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
if you want to see the real side of Arizona, go there.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think that I was there like for like I was also like catching some spring training games just because the way
Yeah.
the timing worked out. So like it was fantastic. Like this all around. I loved Arizona. First of all, like it's always great to get out of the cold, like in the winter. So like I love that, and like it was cool just to like Arizona. Like coming from like crowded like East Coast cities, like Phoenix is obviously just huge, but the way they laid it out, it's just like
Yeah,
it
it's
just
easy.
made like driving around so much nicer because all the roads were just like it was weird to be like not be like stuck in traffic all the time. I was
Yeah,
like,
it's
oh,
like
this
if
is
you need to
cool.
go east, you got 3 options. You want to go north, you got 3 options.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which is great because like around here it's like you want to go east, you have one option, and it's been crowded for 3 hours.
Yes.
So like, good luck with that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah,
Is-
it's that's cool, man. Yeah, I'd love to get back out there. It was like I said, it was like like I had great fishing. I love bass fishing, and yeah, I got a nice 8 pound largemouth out of Saguaro. But like yeah, part of me kind of always wondered what the pike fishing would have been like. And so now talking to you, I'll be like, well, yeah, man, because I'd love that. It's cool to like just really get out there,
Yeah.
and just like find some of these things. Like one of the guys that works with Trevor was telling me about his cabin. Oh, I shouldn't even say this, I guess, on the air. But anyway, his cabin in like a certain state that has like just like all these just amazing brook trout. And I was like, yeah, I mean, like that, he said that it's like no one is there ever, and it's like, yeah, that kind of.
That's one thing about the state of Maine, honestly, because I'll break it out, is
Okay.
that there's just
All right.
there's so many rivers, streams, and creeks up there that hold some of the biggest. They do a lot of like portaging, where they portage from river to river, and there's like lakes to lakes by that, and some of the most beautiful brook trout, native brook trout that you've ever seen in your entire life. Like insane. It's insane up there. It's
Yeah,
insane. It really honestly is.
Right.
yeah, yeah.
And
Carl
and
showed
being
me
in the
some of
middle
those
of nowhere.
pictures,
Yeah.
and I was like, this. I mean, it looks like it's like fake, right? I mean, because it's just like this brook trout that looks like you would get in like one of those like Trout Unlimited like calendars that be like that
Hmm.
you, like would dream about, be like, oh, that's a nice brook trout, and then like Carl's just like randomly like, oh yeah, I caught 400 of these, and you're like, what? It's like, yeah,
Well,
And nobody
that's Maine
fishes
in
for them.
general.
They've never been
Yeah.
they've
yeah,
never been caught before. Those fish have never even seen a human being or been touched by a human being.
It's
Like
like turkey
it's
hunting in Maine.
wild.
People just don't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, they just don't. It's just not a thing. Is there
yeah.
one fish that's like your absolute favorite that you have like the craziest story with?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, I think that like if I had I think like one of the, I mean, it would probably be my white sturgeon in Oregon, just because like not only because it's my biggest, it was like 400 pounds, which is like insane for me to even like say, but at the same time, like a lot of people have caught bigger fish than that. So the fact that I basically caught kind of like an average trophy at 400 pounds and like 9 feet long, this thing like, so yes, I mean like these things. This is one of the few fish that I probably would never get tired of fishing for, and it's like, I mean, they take runs, they jump, which is really scared the hell out of me because I'm thinking I'm gaining on this massive fish, and then the guy buddy that I'm fishing with is kind of like, oh no, he's about to jump, and I'm like, what? And then so he's like, yeah, then all of a sudden just like launches out of the water, and you're like, holy shit, look at this thing, and yeah, and then the fights are just like unbelievable. And just take forever, and then like yeah, and then it's been you're fishing like we were in like downtown Portland, so like we're looking I like on the Willamette, or I guess it was technically Oregon City or whatever, but the point is like we're there and there's like a Best Western on your right, and then like there's like people like you see people like going to work, and then you're like fighting this like amazing fish, and so like and then there's a million places that have fish even better than that are more remote too, like up in Canada and like I think even further up like the Columbia, like into the Snake and some of those rivers in Idaho, and it's like
Yep.
this is I mean it was just an unbelievable experience. It was like I found that like yeah, my forearms were so sore after that that like I went catfishing like a week later on the Potomac, and like even like the 30-pound blue cats, I was just like, oh my God. And like I was younger then too. So I was like nowadays it'd be like, okay, I'm old. But like back then it was just like, Jesus, man. It was just like my wrist just hurt so bad. Because yeah, I mean,
What
it
was
doesn't
the
hurt too bad.
method? What was the method to fishing for them?
For the sturgeon, let's see, we caught shad to start off, just like caught fresh shad, and then I want to say that Buddy just put the whole thing on a hook, and then like just threw it out and like waited on the bottom, and then yeah, they'll just like pick it up, and then just start going, and then it's like one of these like cool bites where you see it's kind of like going a little bit, and then when they just like really decide that they want to take it, then it just starts like they just start tearing ass and like peel and drag. And then like you can't really even gain on a fish like that when you're just gotta like they like take up the anchor and then you're just like holding on and then this thing is just pulling you down the river. And like I've had that with like some saltwater fish, but it's like never with like a freshwater. This thing is
Right.
like I said, it's like like a river where like people's homes are on the side, and then you're there just like holding on for dear life as this thing is like taking you taking you up the river. So
That's what I was gonna say. It's like giant tuna fishing, but fresh water. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was unbelievable, and like Oregon's done like a pretty cool job of making sure that those fish could stay. Like, I mean, you can fish for them, but you can't keep them, and so
Right.
they're like they had this thing at the time that I didn't think how ridiculous it was, but it's like, oh, you can't take them out of the water, and I was like, oh, that's too bad. Then I have this 400-pound fish. Like, how the fuck would I take this out of the
Yeah.
water?
You
Right?
can get it to the top enough to get a picture.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. So the picture on my website, it's just like me like holding on for dear life, and then the fish has like his head up a little bit, so you can see it's a big fish. And then, man, when that thing was ready to go, he just literally flipped his tail and then just took off. And I was lucky I didn't like have my hand further up his like gill plate because he would have dragged me right under.
Right.
But, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. And yeah, it was like, and then yeah, you can go out in a given day and then just catch like, you know, numbers of them. Like I even had to like I caught two trophies, and then the guy I think saw how much I was like dying there and was just like, okay, we'll go catch some like smaller ones. And then we caught some smaller ones. And then I like went back and caught one more trophy. And like, honestly, yeah, the next day I fished Washington and fished for steelhead. And I was like, thank God I'm not trying to do sturgeon again. Cause I don't know. Like I said, I might've been able to just like muscle through, but yeah, I was just so like, just like beat after that.
And that's a big thing in like southern Idaho on the Snake around Twin Falls is you get below the falls where the pools are and you go out and you catch them in a kayak.
Yeah,
and you let them just pull you around in a circle in those pools because they can't get out.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that, but I knew that like there's a guy in Virginia, this guy Josh Dolan, who fishes out of a kayak, and he like just like towed his kayak out there and like got on there, and he said it was crazy. It's like I think he was even like shore casting for him at one point. It might have been against kayak, but yeah, he said that it was just nuts. I mean, because this thing like you're not really. Like for most of it, you're not really gaining on him. It's like you're just kind of getting.
You're just letting him pull you.
He just like pulls your ass around.
When he gets tired, it's like okay, I may get a crank or two.
Yeah. No, it was nuts. And yeah, Trevor, you made that comparison with tuna fishing, and that was like probably the second fish that I would say like I did that last year out of Scituate, Massachusetts, and that was like just unreal. It's like this caught like 900-pound tuna, and it was like it's just like pulling us out to sea, right? And you're like, you're just like hoping after like just like 20 minutes that you might gain like one crank on him, and then it's like, I mean, he's pulling you all over the place. You're gaining like nothing, and it was just such a different like both those fish were just such a different experience. Like I'm used to like at least being able to gain a little bit on them, but like I wasn't doing shit with that tuna. Like it was finally like when he finally was just kind of like, oh, and then it was like he almost knew that it was like catch and release time, like because the quota had been reached, that he was just kind of like fine, whatever. So he got up next to the boat, and then we released him, and he swam off. But yeah, it was those two fish. I don't think I'd ever get tired of catching. No, but like really all of them were great. I mean, it's definitely tough to pick a favorite, but like they're just like finding a different fish that you. Like, I mean, I still even like catching big bass, don't get me wrong, but it was like very cool to find like a completely different fish. Like sturgeon aren't like anything that we have in Virginia. We have Atlantic sturgeon.
Yeah, we have the Atlantics, but
and that's cool, but they're not, not several hundred pounds. Exactly. And I think they're also federally protected. So like God help you if you
if you hook one, just cut the line.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like you could really like take it and be like, oh, cool, look what I got. I can still be like, yeah, you're under arrest. So.
That's here too with the soft. We have the soft nose. And they're the same exact way where you cannot take them out of the water. It's like $100,000 fine for taking them out of the water. It's like crazy, like nuts. And every once in a while, one will surface. Somebody takes it out of the water. And we have them all the time. You see like the jumping on them. We'll be on the river striper fishing, and they'll jump out of the water. But cool. I've never seen anything crazy like that. I mean, that's
I'd say one of the craziest things I've seen fishing was down on the James. We were catfishing, chasing blues. And right at sundown, you just sit and watch. And you'll watch these sturgeon just blow out of the water. We actually almost watched one land on a kayak. And the kayak damn near went. Oh, it was hilarious. But it's the coolest thing ever to just sit there and watch those fish breach.
Yeah. No, it's a cool species. And that's cool that you got them up there too, Trevor. Yeah, I know that like they had been doing a really good job with like tagging the Atlantics on the James. I was actually talking to this guy who's used to catfish in Virginia. Now he's out in Kansas today, actually. And he was saying that, like, I guess some of the tags are, like, coming off, but, like, after a few years. But, yeah, they've been really, like, tracking their migration, finding out all this cool stuff about them. But, yeah, and it's cool to, like, think of that as them, like, coming back. Because, yeah, I mean, like, you still can't catch them. I'm like, yeah, right. God forbid you, like, touch one. Like, you're just going to die. But, like, if anybody ever sees a picture of you doing it. But yeah, it's, like, it's cool to know that those fish like that, like then 10, 15 years, maybe we'll be having a good run of them. And
we may actually get a season back.
Yeah.
That is one of the cool things with the fishery is that they're starting to study these things a lot more than they ever have in the past. I mean, there's so many tagging programs and so on and so forth, which makes the fishery so much better. When they started to, do different regulations on a lot of these fish, and now you're starting to see these things again and have really good runs on them. I mean, like that was never seen before.
Yeah. We were talking about that, Trevor, like when I was fishing with you guys, we were talking for striper. It's like how right Connecticut is getting the striper with like putting that slot in. Cause like, Virginia, I mean, like they're trying to do catch and release, but like the catch and release, like, like they do a lot of that in Maryland, and like most of those fish die. And then in Virginia, you can still like they have a lot of commercial fishing for the menhaden. And then there was a incidental fish kill the other day for them, like, because they, like, when they're dragging up the nets, like, they oftentimes catch things that aren't menhaden, and then those things, they either by accident or on purpose, they kind of turn out of their nets because they're like drum and stuff that are protected, and then they just wash up on shore, right? So you see these like dead drums along the side, and like, I mean, it's a mess. So it was nice to see that the Connecticut was like serious about it, that they've got that, like, and that was a good slot too. I mean, we caught like I guess Seth kept like one, right? But like, I mean, we were fishing, we caught like a dozen fish, and then all of them were over. So that was awesome because like you throw them back and they swim off healthy, and that was really cool to see. And yeah, like you said, like so many places are doing a good job with it.
Yeah, and and they were kind of behind the ball. I mean, the studies wise, and a lot of these places were on the verge of, missing out on a lot of fish, and now that they've started to change, like Connecticut, for example, and New York and Rhode Island, like the New England states, they've kind of caught up on that. And now that they have that slot, the only fear that I have, honestly, and we were talking about it, David, is that we're going to have a point where there's too many overs and not enough unders, right? Where you're not able to get those slot fish and those meat fish. But a lot of people are into this whole catch and release thing, and I'm totally for it because like it's been 3 years since we've had this slot, and we're starting to see phenomenal fish. I mean, phenomenal. I mean, we had one today. It was 45 pounds. We've had one that was 51 pounds. Well, it was the day before you came up.
It was like the morning that I was thinking. I was like, saw that. Yeah, because it was like, oh god, yeah. Seth was like, oh, got a 51 and a 46, and I was like, oh god, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't. I was just like
missed out on it.
Yeah, it's like I'm happy for you, but like if we go out there and I just get my ass kicked, like I'd be so mad that I didn't, because it's like definitely like one of those things where like, oh, should have been here yesterday. It was like, no, you should have been here like the earlier
this morning,
tide. And it was like, but
you got your trophy fish though. You got it.
Oh yeah, I got it. Yeah, like you called it, man. The next morning on that morning tide, they we had gotten into some that were kind of the same as as like when we went. And then we started jigging those bucktails, and then like all of a sudden we got into like much nicer fish. So it was funny, like it was just like they turned on, like that's what you had mentioned. They just like turned on like briefly, like enough for me to get like the 45 and a half. Then there was another one, looked like it had been attacked by a shark or something. It was pretty cool. It was just all like destroyed on the side. I guess like some of it had been on the rocks, but then also it looked like it had like a bite out of it. And then there were some that were like 43, 44, like right in there. And then it was just like back down to what we were getting, like still overs, but like just, and I was like, man, that
just
was
40 inches.
Yeah. And like, that's what you had said. It was just like this narrow window where like the big boys are just like, oh, hell yeah. And then it's like game on, and then they're done.
Well, so it's funny we had you say shark and how shark had been on it from where we were fishing to where we got the great white was like within a mile.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's how crazy. So I'm not surprised that something actually bit it. Like not at all. The amount of sharks and stuff that we're dealing with up there now is crazy, which is nuts.
No,
it's
that
cool
was
to see though.
Yeah, that was really cool. You told me about the great white. That's definitely one fish that I'm hoping to get sometime. It's not like in the immediate future, but there's a guy down in South Carolina who like tags them in the winter, and like he has like all kinds of state records, and he just does it. Yeah, he does like a cool tagging program. Like you go out there, you fish for 13 hours for great whites, like with the expectation you catch like one, and then but then he like tags it, gets all this information about him, and then you of course get this like awesome picture with like jaws, right? And then that's that. And I was just like, yeah, that's something that I could do down the road. Like I think that would be like a cool kind of like bucket list thing to do.
Does he guide people in doing that?
Barton, he guides like
charters.
He does like, and I think he only guides like one or two people, just because I mean like the action is like so slow, because he's like,
right.
I don't think he takes out many people because like I guess you could like take turns reeling in the fish, but like it's not. He just says that like you're hoping for that one bite, and so like if he has a group of like 4 people even, he's like you're not gonna all enjoy it that much. Like it'll be cool to see it up close. Don't get me wrong, but like it's not gonna be the same. So.
But you know what you're getting yourself into when you do something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
well, yeah, and that's what I
it's-
thought. But of course, like easy for me to say, I always fish by myself, so I don't give a shit. It's just kind of like,
I,
yeah, fine. Like,
I don't know, man. The lucky horseshoe that you carry around with you, bro. I don't know. You probably get 7 of them while you're there.
Right.
Honestly, like
oh, thanks,
somebody,
man. Yeah,
somebody like you, man, with all the trophies that you've caught. I mean, it's impressive, dude. It really, honestly is. And when you were telling me the story about how you've, in the midst of trying to get a trophy in all 50 states, and I was like, wow, dude, that's incredible. That is something
oh,
else.
thanks, man.
It really
Thanks.
is.
Yeah, I got 6 more, so I'm getting close. I'm
What are the states that you need left?
let's see, Alaska, Hawaii, Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Maine. So
Wow. Well, I know what
yeah,
you're going for in Maine.
yeah.
Right.
Maine,
We already got that under pat.
yeah, I'll be like texting Carl. I'll be like, "Hey, bro, we're still on, right? I'm that guy you met like randomly years ago. You gave me your number. Let's go spend a weekend at your cabin." Yeah, so
Yep. I'll tell you. I mean, all those places that you just named are probably some of like the most like off the grid type places to go fishing. Honestly, right? I mean, like they're like,
yeah.
I mean, Alaska. What are you gonna try and do in Alaska?
Alaska, I might like they're like I said, they have kind of some high minimums, but one their minimum that seems like the most achievable is rockfish actually, which is like it's kind of
Yeah.
like a bycatch when you're halibut fishing, and I've never caught a halibut either. So I'm like, well, this is perfect. Like
Yeah,
I
you go
could
for both.
like yeah, exactly. Like I could like, like the halibut minimum is like 250 pounds. So that's like a big ass halibut. But
But
the
it's
rockfish
very
minimum,
achievable.
yeah. So and that's the thing is like, so I think that like, so I have an outside shot of that. But the nice thing is that like the bycatch, while they're deep dropping for that, are these rockfish, and I think the minimum there is like 18 pounds. But they'll like be like, oh, I caught this 30-pound rockfish. They look like so it's like okay, and they're really cool looking too. So that's
They
I think
are
that'd be
Right.
fun. Yeah,
very attractive fish. Where that big orange, ugly
yeah, yeah.
looking. They're just really cool looking fish.
Yeah. Yeah. Years ago, my buddy, actually the guy whose bachelor party I decided to do the quest on, he sent me this picture, like him and his wife were up there and sent me this picture. Yeah, it was like the first time I'd seen a rockfish, and I was like, it's like, dude, look what I got. And I was like, what the fuck is this? But yeah, I was like, then I looked it up and I was like, oh man, this is like a cool fish. But yeah, I mean it looks like just like a goldfish on like HGH, right? I mean, it was like just like an unbelievable, like the coloration is awesome, like you said, Trevor, and then the size is awesome, and then yeah, the fact that like I'd be catching that while targeting something else, I mean, that's pretty cool. So
Yep. You could potentially pull 2 out on that trip.
yeah. So yeah, I've been lucky that I've been lucky in a lot of ways, but one of them is like some of the states I have left are like just phenomenal states that it's like okay yeah I have to go back to Hawaii, damn it, like it's like
That's horrible.
yeah
That's horrible. I
such a
gotta go
shame
back
for
to
me.
Alaska. I gotta go back to
Yeah.
Washington. I mean, like those are horrible places to go back and visit.
Yeah, no, I like yeah, and I love like the Mountain West, so that was so I think that like a part of me is just like was secretly like happy that I was like oh yeah, like you said, I was like I have to go back to and Idaho is one of those places too
Yep.
where it's like Florida where you're like what will I try, like will I try massive sturgeon, will I try like they have like 8-pound smallmouth and that
Yeah.
like this one reservoir there, and then they have and then up north they got in the Panhandle they have those like triploids on Ponderay that get just truly massive.
Yep.
And yeah, so I mean like it's like can't really go wrong. That's like an insanely big pike. And so yeah, but it's funny because like honestly my biggest dilemma with Idaho has been like what should
What
I do, right? I
species
think it'll
and
probably
where?
be yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, because Idaho is it's funny because like because of the way it's cut out, you don't think that it's that
Yeah,
big.
you don't realize
like 13
Idaho
hours.
touches Canada.
Yeah, it's like 13-hour drive to go from top to bottom. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, like you can't like legitimately be like, oh, I'll fish up at Priest Lake, like up in the Panhandle, and then like drive down and maybe try sturgeon the next day because it's like, yeah, no, that's
No, that's an
like
all-day deal.
driving. Yeah, it's like driving from here to Florida, right? I mean, it's just like
Exactly.
it's like that far. So yeah, but it's but no, I'm psyched, man. I'm psyched to go back to these places. So
Yeah, and that's the
Is
thing
there-
is now that you've added in the fly rod, that opens
Yeah.
up a world of possibilities in all those states because they have so many different fish up there that are almost uncatchable without a fly rod.
yeah, they Idaho like they like the browns and the rainbows
Yep.
kind of near like Henry's Fork in that area. Like I was thinking about that too because I mean they look awesome. Yeah, and then they have some of those places like we were talking about with Maine, where it's like they get like no fishing pressure, you know,
Right.
and it's like
Most of them
like,
have
some
never
them are on,
seen
like,
someone
private
flip a
property,
fly.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, some of them are on private property, but most of them are just like, you know, I mean, you gotta hike your ass off to get there, and it's like a lot of people are just like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
You know the
But,
craziest thing about Idaho, though?
what's
You can
that?
walk out in a potato field in an irrigation ditch and flip a fly into it and pull out a trophy.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's the wildest thing you've ever seen, but literally you can catch fish in the irrigation channels there.
That's cool. That's funny. Yeah, somebody had told me that, and I didn't know if they were just like messing
No,
with me.
it's
That's
legit.
funny.
Like,
Yeah,
so
like
I'm thinking, I'm sitting here right now. I'm like, this dude's bullshitting. What do you
No.
mean? It's
No.
not true.
my
Like,
brother
that can't
literally
happen.
lives next to a potato field, and he can go out and cast into the irrigation and pull trout out.
that's insane. Yeah, it's like
That's nuts. How do they
yeah.
live in it though? Like, what is their water source to like?
The Snake
'cause something
River.
like that needs.
Yeah, the Snake
Yeah, but
River
they
feeds
need
it
to
all.
like have some type of like. Oh, it does, all
Yeah.
the irrigation goes into
it's
that
all-
because it has to have.
It runs in and out. So it makes it possible there's enough oxygenation in the moving water going through there that the trout can live in it just like a stream.
That's
That's
crazy.
cool. Yeah, that's. I'm glad that you said that. Yeah, because I had heard someone say that about Montana.
Yep.
Because they were even like Montana. I had read had even been like trying to like have some like rules about fishing the irrigation ditches, and I
Yep.
was like, the fuck is that about? You know, it's just like,
Yeah.
like we don't have rules on the East Coast about like fishing the sewer, right? So
Right,
it's like,
yeah. Let's go fish downtown DC.
Well, that's like
yeah,
Florida. Florida's like that. Maryland is like that. They have all these crazy ditches and all these
Yeah.
weird places. Like when I was down in Maryland, spring turkey hunting, like during the day, because you can only hunt till noon, obviously. And we would literally drive around, and there's all these ditches, and we'd be fishing in a ditch on the side of the road, literally a ditch on
Yeah.
the side of the road,
Trying to
to
pull
catch
out snakes.
snakeheads. And
Yeah.
you're like, what in the world? Like I was the kids I was with. I'm like, dude, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
And we're catching like snapping turtles and
yeah.
and snakeheads and like there's all kinds of shit in them. And I'm like, this is the craziest thing I've ever done in my life, dude.
Yeah.
At night we're driving around, like it was the craziest thing. We're like driving around and we have a flashlight and we're shining all the ditches and we're blow dart gunning snakeheads out of the ditches. And I'm like, what? And it's
Yeah.
just like you're talking about with Montana and Idaho, which in the irrigation
It's running water. Water runs in to feed it, and then it runs right back out. It's
That's-
moving water,
That's so
so it
cool.
stays oxygenated. Fish survive.
I could see it now. David's gonna have a YouTube video with a GoPro catching giant trout in an
In a
irrigation
potato
system.
field.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm gonna have fish
Hold
and
my-
taters for dinner.
Yeah.
Hold my
I'll be
beer.
like- just like go to some like random potato farmers and be like, it's like, oh, is it cool if I just like fish your sewer? And he'll be like, yeah, whatever, man.
Yeah. Just don't get hit by the moose. You're good.
Yeah.
So, David, is there one fish? If you could catch one fish that's like your ultimate bucket list fish, what would it be?
Yeah, the fish that are still left on the old bucket list would be, well, the great white, and then I still haven't caught a tarpon or a marlin. I've fished for tarpon, and I've got to see a lot of them jump with my lure in their mouth, and then somehow not have my lure in their mouth 2 seconds later. So that would be good if I could actually land one. Yeah, I was like 0 for 7 or something, and like that that seemed pretty normal. Like when I told people that, they're like, "Oh yeah, like I'm 0 for 6," or like I'm 1 for 10, and I'm like, God, this is crazy. But yeah, I think that like that would be those would be the ones that are left, and then yeah, marlin. I just haven't, like I said, I haven't done like true offshore much. Like I've done it now, like with you guys, we went out and saw like I did it in Massachusetts, and then like, but even the striper fishing I had done in like New Jersey and getting trophies, like those were just like really just right coming out of the Hudson. So like you're in front of like, I don't think it was Asbury Park, but I guess we were a little bit further north of that. But like, you're kind of like off the beach, right? I mean, so you're not really like out there. You're definitely not in like blue water and or any of that. So I think it'd be cool to like really go out there and then do some of that like true, like 40, 50. I mean, because the Gulf Stream's so far away here. It's like like go like 40, 50 miles out and do some of that marlin fishing.
But that's a drug you probably don't want. I promise you. Like
yeah,
coming from a freshwater world, like my dad being a tournament bass fisherman for so many years and growing up on lakes and bass fishing constantly, to like now being in saltwater and then now being an offshore fisherman,
Yeah.
forget it, bro. That's a
Yeah.
drug that nobody should ever have to take, because it's once you get into blue water and then you have like tilefish and swordfish and then you have all your tunas, and I mean there's just so many things out there. And like
Yeah.
guys like us that are from the woods are
Yeah.
like, bro, what is this? This is the craziest thing I've ever dealt with in my life. Like
Yeah.
it really is. It really is. The blue water is something else. Mahi mahi and marlin
Yeah.
and sailfish and forget
Yeah,
it.
I'm hoping
Absolutely.
that I get a marlin when I go to Hawaii. That'll I think because there's like there's a guy out there who like just kind of like casually catches marlin the way that we casually catch like either stripers or catfish. It's crazy. It's like every day he's like, oh, I took these people out for their first marlin. It's like I took these people out for their first marlin, and then like Oahu showed up, and I'm like, what the fuck is this guy? Like I mean, it's like
Right.
I think his name's even like Marlin Magic too, and I'm like. It does seem like mad. I mean, I was like, this has got to be bullshit. But no, I mean, he's it's crazy. So yeah, I'm hoping that's where my first.
What is it a trophy? What is a trophy marlin down there?
They don't. Hawaii doesn't really do that. So I'm just
Okay.
thinking that I might do some research there, but it also might be one of those things where if I can land one, then that'll be
That'll
like
be your
a
trophy.
because it's
That's
like
cool.
kind of one of these things. Like I guess if I landed like a really small one, I'd have to think twice about that. But like I don't need to go out and catch like a grander or something.
Right.
Like it's like I think just like even if I caught, I mean hell, even if it ends up being like a white marlin instead of a blue marlin, like or I guess they have striped ones out there. Anyway,
Yeah,
the
stripe
point is
marlin,
like I think like that would be cool too, just to be able to say that I did it. But that's a problem I'd
Absolutely.
like to have. And worst case scenario, I just go back to Hawaii again.
Oh,
So
damn.
yeah, whatever. Big deal.
yeah,
Just keep turning it
yeah.
around, man.
Yeah, we're gonna go for our 10-year wedding anniversary, so that'll be fun. And like take my boys like fishing for sunfish when the action is constant. Like it was
Yeah.
funny. Like when I was talking to Seth about it, and he had asked like about them coming out. I was like, man, that the boat ride to get out to where we fished, like they would have been just so. They would have thrown all the shit in the water. Like they would have been like, they just would have been like, what are we fishing? And like it would have been just like pandemonium. So like I think by the time that my wife and I have been married 10 years. Like my older one will be 7, my younger one, or my older one will be 9, my younger one will be 7. So like they might be able to do it then, but like now it's like we go to like a place with sunfish. They like throw a rod in, they get a fish, they fuck around with it. Like half the time they're just like poking it in the eye and like doing all this stuff, and then they like throw it back. But sometimes they miss. They go. I mean, it's just like it's a mess. But I mean, they love. It's fun to like do it with them, obviously, and I love that. But like I think that I'm hoping that they can come because it'd be cool to have them with me, like when I like knocked Hawaii off or whatever. So,
That
but
would be
also they
awesome.
might still be throwing shit, in which case I'll have to leave them there. And like poor them, they're probably hanging out at like some pool or volcano or something. But Hawaii has like so much random shit to do. So
That's
yeah,
awesome, man.
but
Well,
yeah,
with
no,
that, I want to ask you what drives you outdoors, David? What gets you out there and doing this? I
All
know
right. I'm glad you asked me
this.
because I know you ask everybody, and I was just like, I'd really been thinking about the answer too, and I was just like, fuck, man, you better ask me. All right. It is like honestly the quest for bigger fish. Like, I mean, just knowing that there's very few fish that I've caught that are really at the top of how big they get. Like my lake trout was one of them. Like the lake trout I got in Wyoming I think it was like 49 pounds. And like, they just don't get that much bigger than that. Like, but like even that sturgeon at 400 pounds, there's like, I think the world record's like 1,800 pounds, right? That tuna I got that was 900 pounds, like they go over 1,000. So it's like knowing that like, I could like try different stuff or like just like get better at the techniques and go out there and just like continue to break your personal best. Like there's not a whole lot of things. Like I do like good amount of weightlifting and like weightlifting, like there's a certain point. So I'm 40 years old. So like I'm never going to get like the 400-pound bench. Right. So it's like that sort of thing. Just like isn't attainable. But for like these fish, it's like, it is right. I mean, pretty much like as impressive as my fish resume is, at least in my opinion, like there's still like a ton of stuff out there. Like, I had an awesome trip with you guys up there, but like shit, that morning, like those random dudes show up and they're like, oh, he's got a 51-pound striper. Like that would be my personal best striper. And like, and I think like you said, like they're going to keep getting bigger with that slot you got. So like just knowing that you can go out there and at any given day, like, you could go and it could be like that lake trout I caught was in like the shittiest weather. Like for anyone who's listening in Wyoming, like I admire that you stick it out there all year because man, like Memorial Day weekend, it was like freezing rain. Like yeah, DC is already like 1,000 degrees and it's like freezing rain. and just so cold that I'm like so underprepared because I hadn't bothered to check the weather because I was like, oh, it's May. But anyway, yeah, it's like, and it is just, even if it's like a day you don't want to fish and you think like, oh, this is gonna suck because of like whatever, like go out there and do it, and you might just catch like the best fish. Like my Texas alligator gar, I caught it was like it was so hot, and like Texas in August. I don't know why I went to Texas in August. Looking back on it, like
Yeah, it's not
like
very
Piss poor
bright.
planning, David. Piss poor planning.
yeah, it was like, and it's funny too because like I even fished, and when I was fishing with the guys, like I should come back sometime when it's not so hot. And then it kind of dawned on me, I was like, why the fuck am I here in August? Like I didn't ask him like what it's like. Is this a good time to catch fish? I just kind of like wanted to go because like I had never been down to Texas, and that like it was just kind of like when I could take time off from work because it was like kind of between things. So like I just had like been like, all right, cool, I'm going to Texas in August, and then yeah, I'm like sweating my ass off, and I'm like, yeah, I really should have come in like February.
Yeah.
Right. It's like this, but yeah, but just knowing that like just go out there like anytime that you can go and get out there and like you could have just an experience of a lifetime, and then like even then there's going to be probably a bigger fish out there some other time, so you can, it's always something to chase.
Outstanding.
I think it's awesome. I
Well-
really do. I think that your journey is an amazing thing. It
Yeah,
really
thanks, man.
honestly
Thanks.
is, dude. I love
it's
following
just
along.
a cool story. I mean, it's something till Trev brought it up to me. I was like, no, I've never heard of it either. I was like, this
Yeah.
is just, it's such a cool idea.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I
So-
got anyone who wants to hear more, my website's fishingthe50.com, and I'm gonna put my my Connecticut update up there soon. Well, actually, I'm not gonna do shit. I don't really know that stuff. My wife does my website, so make sure you say good things about it because she also reads the email. And yeah, so whatever she can, she is going to update the site and everything. So yeah, it's yeah, I'm not too proud to admit that I don't know. I don't know anything about that stuff. Like it's like.
She did a phenomenal job on the website. I promise
thanks,
you,
buddy.
dude.
Thanks. I
She did a
appreciate
very
it.
good
Yeah.
job on the website. I was like, hey, man, he's very well rounded. He did very well. He can catch fish, and he has a beautiful website. But it's good to know that you aren't the one that did it at all.
No. Yeah, for my wife, it was like he's like younger than I am. I guess he's like probably like I think he's like your age, Trevor. So it's like she learned about this stuff like in school, right? Whereas like to me, it's like kind of like computer, and like she's just like, oh yeah, we did HTML in middle school. I'm like, what the fuck? I was
Yep.
just like, yeah, it's like I don't that's not something I did in middle school.
Yeah, we only thought we were ahead of the curve.
yeah.
And then you see what
Yeah,
kids do today. It's like, yeah, you're coding in 4th grade. Have fun.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Yeah, my 6-year-old will just like navigate through something. Like I'll just like go in there and he's watching something on Amazon I would not want him to be watching it. I'm just like, what happened? He's like, oh, I just like, got here. Then I started watching like, like The Boys or something. And I'm like, absolutely not. I was just like, but I don't know how to do any of the parental control. So I'm just like, Christine, I was like,
Yeah,
like,
nope.
I need an actual adult.
Definitely not a show the kids should be watching.
An actual adult.
Yeah, no, I'm just like that's why I just like turn it off and be like, okay, TV time is done till your mom gets back from work. Like we're not doing this.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Well, where else can everybody find you and follow along with all your
I
excursions?
got a Facebook page. Trevor has convinced me to get on Instagram, but my better half hasn't shown me how to do that yet. So I'm not quite there. She has it on her phone, and she's gonna show me. I think like soon, and then we'll get some stuff on there. But yeah, mostly I update the Facebook page a good amount. It's just Fishing the 50, and then my website gets updated. Yeah,
Some
fairly
crazy
frequently.
stuff. I highly encourage everyone to get over to fishingthe50.com and just checking it out because there's some amazing pictures of some great fish and kind of his journey. And I think one of the cool things about it, for David is that he tears it up with every place that he's been. There's pictures of just the tourist attractions also, not just about the fish, but some of the cool things that you've seen along the way in your travels.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's been great. It's like, yeah, there's some of the stuff that I would have just never experienced otherwise. And it's like, and then in pretty much in every state, you can find something like really cool. Like there weren't any states that were kind of a bummer. Like I guess the only state I haven't really explored as much from a fishing perspective is West Virginia, just because it's so close that like
Yeah,
I'll
you
do
overlook it.
day trips.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like
I do it
like
too.
go and like it's just so easy to get to that I've never actually like had to spend the night in
Yeah.
West Virginia because I'm always just like
Yeah,
driving and
you're
back.
you're an hour and a half away from some of the best fly fishing in the area.
Yeah, so it's like
And
so it's
we're like, yeah, we know it's there, it's cool, but we just never actually go.
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
the
it was.
same problem.
And it's because some of the fishing down, yeah, it's like. But anyway, yeah. So I guess my advice to anyone that's like ever interested in doing this, it's like, even if you're not going to do like the whole thing, because it is a lot to bite off. And I was fortunate enough to start when I was like 24 years old. So, but it's like just pick some state randomly, and then you'll find. I can guarantee you'll find awesome fishing there, and then like also just random other cool stuff to do. Right? I mean, shit. There's even like a Taco John's, like this like taco joint in the Midwest, which is just like amazing. So like it's like, so even it's like that sort of thing. It's like just like finding like new cool places to eat and like just doing new stuff. And then most importantly, like catching like new and big fish is great. So yeah, it's great. Anyone can reach out to me. I think my wife put my contact information on the site. I guess yeah, she did. Good. All right. Yeah. So and then like on Facebook too. So yeah, it's but yeah, no, I mean, thanks so much for having me, guys. Yeah, I was psyched about this. Yeah, I mean, you could ask Trevor. Like when he told me about this, I was just like, dude, I want to be on there. And it's like, also like, dude, I have like 50 dudes that I can give you a list of. So it's like,
So you guys will all be hearing all David's friends.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if you thought I was bullshitting, but then I was like, I immediately got back and was like, okay, talk to these two dudes. They're gonna be great. And then it was just like, oh, here's two more dudes. And then I was like, yeah, so sorry about that, but I think I capped it at like 6. So
you're the man. We appreciate you, David. We really do.
It's absolutely perfect. And again, this is another great example of if you're out there per se just traveling, you're going to go see family. You're driving through 5 states on the way. Throw a fishing pole in your tackle box. Stop at a creek. Stop at a lake. Catch a fish. You could check a lot of these states off real easy without even thinking about it. So it's a very achievable thing for a lot of people because, let's face it, we're always traveling. I mean, hell, me and Trev could have probably knocked off 23 of these states in the last 2 years, hands down, no problem.
Yeah, yeah. Being on the East Coast is like huge advantage because it's like, I mean, like everything is so drivable. It's like there was like when I went down to Alabama, like it's just I mean, you get and that's like kind of like the furthest. I drove to Minnesota too. That was a little bit further, but it's like Alabama. You just get there in a day. I mean, you leave. Like you can even just like, leave in the morning and then get there by like, the in time to like put a rod in the water at dusk and see what you get. So, I mean, like all that stuff is like advantages we have definitely being on the East Coast. So it's like, I know when I was talking to a guy from California about that, they kind of laughed, but I was like, oh yeah, this would suck for you because for you it's like
out west, it's a day to get out of the state.
yeah, it's just like if you're starting like anywhere except for like on the border with another state, it's like you're gonna be driving forever before you get.
Yeah, it's a state a day if you're lucky.
Yeah,
I mean, either way, the worst day of fishing is better than the best day at work.
Yeah,
so
that is for sure.
why not go out and just enjoy it?
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that's like, like you said, just like randomly having like a little tackle box with just like some soft plastics in there and it's like a spinning rod. And I mean, you can just, if you wanted to, like, and that's what those guys that did it before me in Virginia did. They just went through and 50 state. They didn't have to catch anything. They were just doing it because they were trying to do like, I think 50 states in 50 days before the kid went to Virginia Tech. And so they just like, they were just like, they like drive, fish. And then like I think they had like a camper or something, and they just like sleep there and then just do it the next day. So
nice.
But it's cool. Yeah, and it is a lot more achievable. And like I said, if you put in, I mean, I don't have to put in as much insane research as I did because I'm a crazy person, but like just like a little bit of research and find out like where the good places to fish are in each place, or even just like any place to fish. Like I mean, shit, and you can go out to Idaho and throw some flies in the irrigation ditch and pull out some trout. Yeah,
there you go.
Pick potatoes and catch trout.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's the good life. So, David, again, we want to just tell you thank you. We appreciate you joining and sharing your story, and it's definitely inspirational. I hope everybody listening gets out there and finds something unique like this to try. Get out there and just do your thing and have fun. And until then, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.